Please welcome Christine Neumerski, Senior Research Fellow for the Center for Educational Innovation and Improvement.
All of us have stories, moments in our lives when we learn something new, when that light bulb goes off, when we're able to see a situation from a new perspective. I'd like to tell you about one of those moments in my life, a moment that changed the way I think about education research. It was 2017. I was standing outside of Mr. J's third grade classroom. 37 8-year-olds were inside doing group projects. I had just finished observing them as part of a large research study. And now I was talking with Mr. J about some of the challenges he faces in his teaching role. He told me about the countless new literacy initiatives, the difficulty teaching students, some of whom were homeless, the trauma that some of his students had faced. His descriptions didn't surprise me. I've been in schools like this all over the country. But what did surprise me was what Mr. J said next. He told me how happy he was that a researcher had finally come to his classroom, that despite decades of teaching, he wanted more help, that he couldn't wait to read the findings of our study so he could learn what other schools were doing to be successful, and so that he could work on improving his own school. And then he asked me how soon he could read our research results. My face flushed, my palms began to sweat. I just didn't have the heart to tell him the truth, that it would be well over a year before our study findings were published, that the report we would prepare for his district would share our results in the aggregate. They would be general. They wouldn't be specific to his school, let alone his classroom. It was the moment I knew something had to change. I had gone into education research to make a difference in schools like Mr. J's, but that wasn't happening. I felt like I had failed. And yet, our research was considered a success. We went on to publish numerous articles in esteemed academic journals, to be invited to lecture and give talks at conferences. Our study design was robust. Our findings were significant. We had done what the Academy asks us to do. We had contributed to the knowledge base in education. But I was still thinking about Mr. J, about all of those challenges that he had told me about. And I couldn't help but wonder if I had made any impact in his school. Now, most of us go into education research because we want to make an impact. And sometimes we're able to do so. But sometimes we're caught in a structure in our universities that makes it difficult to make an impact on the communities that we want to serve. There is a long-standing divide between education research and practice. Kids learn in schools. Research is done in universities. There's no mechanism to connect the two. So even when education researchers want to connect with practitioners, it's difficult to do so. And even when teachers and principals want to connect with researchers, it's difficult to do so. And at the same time, there are many practitioners who don't trust us. They see research as disconnected from the reality of schools. And sometimes they're right. But just imagine the impact we could make if we could connect with one another, if we could trust one another. So what can we do to bridge this research-practice divide. I'm here tonight to tell you about one possible solution. It's called research-practice partnerships, and the key is in the name, partnerships. You see, in my research in Mr. J's school, as the researchers, we decided everything. We were the experts. We came in and said what the research questions would be, how we would set up the study, what we would do with the findings. We didn't know what teachers like Mr. J wanted or needed. We hadn't even asked them. But partnerships position us to do something different. They enable us to come together, to decide together what problems to study and how. Let me give you an example. Here at the University of Maryland, we are prioritizing partnerships. So my current research is a partnership with 3 local school districts. Now, when this project began, my research team did not go to the district leaders and say, these are our research questions. Instead, we invited them to dinner. We asked them what the pressing problems were in their district. And then we shared what we saw as the pressing problems in the field. We brought in a facilitator. We looked at existing data together. We began to build a partnership. The result? 3 things: trust, relevance, and use. First, we trust one another. Our district partners trust our expertise as researchers, and we trust their expertise as practitioners. We meet monthly, and in those meetings, we know that we can tell one another if things aren't working, if we need to pivot. That first dinner, it's become an annual event. It's an opportunity for us to come together and deepen our relationship, to deepen that trust. And without trust, there can be no partnership. Second, relevance. Our work is relevant for both of us. This is a bi-directional relationship. It works both ways. This is not a situation where the researchers come in as hired consultants to do whatever the practitioners need. And it's not a situation where the practitioners are just research subjects, simply there to be studied. There is a give and take. The work is relevant for us both. And third, use. We are in constant conversation with one another to try to figure out how to create a study that will be usable for these districts, for the children that they are serving in their schools, and usable for the researchers. For example, recently we were designing a focus group protocol. And in designing it, we didn't just try to create the best research instrument that we could, but we also sat with our district partners. We looked at the questions together, and we asked ourselves, if we're able to answer these, will those answers give you usable knowledge? Now, this is not to say that research practice partnerships are easy. They take time. Time to build relationships, time to build trust, time to figure out how to make a study relevant and usable. We spent over a month just figuring out which people to bring to the table to be part of the partnership. It took us a month to come to the problem that we were going to study together, to begin to have hard conversations with one another. But it has been time well spent because the results have been immeasurable. When partnerships focus on trust, relevance, and use, they can be deeply powerful. They improve our research, they improve our practice, they enable us to make an impact. Now, this is not to say that all research should be in the form of research practice partnerships. And it's not to say it's the only way to make an impact. But it is to tell you that it is one powerful lever for change. Many people say that we are in a moment of crisis in education. Our schools are struggling. Our universities are struggling. But with any moment of crisis also comes a moment of opportunity. And what an opportunity we have with research practice partnerships. By pooling our expertise, by sharing our knowledge, we open up the possibility of innovation, of coming up with new ways, not only to just document the problems we have in education, but to solve them. Thank you.